Shalom. Hola. My name is Shiri. I'm a medical coach. I'm also the co-founder and master trainer of MCI, the Medical Coaching Institute. It is truly an honor to have this opportunity to speak to you in this conference. So thank you for your attention and thank you for your curiosity. I'm recording this message in Israel, and it's absolutely exciting to know that you in Argentina are listening to it now. To talk to you about medical coaching, I have to give you a wider perspective and tell you a little bit about my journey. My journey with medical coaching began in 1999 as I was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, a heart and lung rare illness, and I was given 2 years to live. Little did I know that 4 days after this diagnosis, I would actually be lying in the ICU after my heart had stopped and they had to bring me back to life. I was dead, and they brought me back. It took another year until I could stand on my feet. Throughout that year, I was mostly in bed, receiving very aggressive medical treatment, connected to an oxygen tank, having to need help for the simplest things: eating, bathing, bathroom, walking from one room to the other. I was newly married. I got married 2 months earlier. And one of the people that had to take care of me was my husband, my newlywed husband. It was a long journey with my illness. Throughout my illness, I met with psychologists. I met with counselors. They all wanted to help me cope, which was lovely. But I wanted to be proactive. I didn't care why me. I never asked, why am I sick? Why did this happen to me? I didn't care about that. I wanted to know, why now? Why is it the lungs and the heart? What does this mean? And if in fact I do have 2 years to live, well, how do I make these years absolutely amazing? How do I create 2 years of fulfillment? How do I return to a place of choice? After the first year, which I spent mostly in bed, I gradually became more and more independent. Miraculously enough, my medical condition was improving. I was hooked to a catheter line coming out of my chest and connected to a medical device, a pump. I had to wear that 24/7. I was walking around with an oxygen tank. But I knew deep down inside there was something bigger. There had to be. There had to be a bigger reason. There had to be a purpose. I was consumed with creating a vision for these 2 years. And the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about what was important for me and how I wanted to live these 2 years, the more I came to realize that my choice in this determined everything. And actually, maybe I will live for 2 years, maybe longer. It doesn't matter how long I live. I truly want to live as a verb, to live, to do life, and not just stay alive. I wanted to be proactive. As time went by, I became very proactive. I founded a patient society and found other people with my illness. And I wanted to travel the world. So I helped found a same society in Europe. And then I had a great excuse to travel to London and Rome and attend conferences and attend meetings. I found myself connecting with other people in my condition. Gradually, I found myself mentoring them. My doctor used to send newly diagnosed people to me. He said, hey, you want to talk to Shiri? She has some good advice. She knows things. I didn't feel comfortable about advice. I felt that my advice was relevant for me. I knew deep inside that I was looking for something deeper. I wanted to teach people how to learn what was best for them, how to create their own advice. Because my advice, well, it was relevant for me. At some point, after working with a lot of people, I decided to educate myself. I came across life coaching and I was fascinated. There was something about this approach, about holding our clients naturally, creative, resourceful, and whole, about the fact that this is a relationship between coach and client and not coach and patient. I didn't want to be a patient anymore. I wanted to have a say. I knew that before the diagnosis, I had a lot of resources. I had a lot of dreams. I was a full human being. I didn't believe that disappeared the day I was diagnosed. It was important for me to be a part of this team that was keeping me alive, that was really busy trying to make me as healthy as possible. I started my studying with the ontological school, which wasn't very developed in Israel in those days. I continued to study coactive coaching. And from there, I studied group coaching and ADHD coaching. And the first thing I did was go back and try these things, with my friends, help people out. And I got stuck because there were a lot of things going on in that coaching space with other people living with chronic illnesses, not just mine, that I wasn't taught to deal with. There was trauma and there were so many emotions and there was a completely different kind of stress. It was chronic stress and there was so much loss and there was fear and it was a completely different type of crises than I was taught how to coach. So I paused. I also realized that I really needed to let go of my own story. I could not come and offer advice anymore, and I was so glad that was my learning. I was so ready to let go of my own advice. I started learning a whole bunch of other things, and as I learned new things, I incorporated them into my work. I was doing this as well as giving lectures and working with other advocacy associations in Israel, being very active in the field of patient rights and patient advocacy. And slowly I started getting referrals from doctors, referring other people to me, people that were diagnosed with other illnesses, not mine. Through my connection in the pharmaceutical companies, pharmaceutical representatives were also referring clients to me. And I was doing good. In 2010, it became clear I actually had quite a good reputation in this field. Colleagues were coming up to me and saying, "Hey, Shiri, we heard about that thing that you do. Teach us how to coach like that. I have a client that has been diagnosed. I don't know what to do. I have a client that is sick. I have a client that has become a caregiver. They're taking care of someone else in the family that's sick. Teach us that thing that you do." I was confused. What was that thing that I was doing? I decided to take a meta view, step back, look at my work. And as I did that, I realized that all those years of learning and adapting created a professional, coherent, and structured coaching model. This was a model that was not for people that were not coaches. This was a model for people who were already coaches and wanted to have an expertise with these kind of clients. So I decided to rise to the challenge. And in the middle of 2010, I opened my first course and taught 15 brave Israeli life coaches how to be medical coaches. By the end of 2011, I already had three courses running parallel. And in 2013, I went international and created MCI with my partner, Evelyn. Our first course was in the UK and London, and we have been working internationally ever since. I'm not going to talk to you about the trainings. I'm not going to talk to you about the courses. I want to talk to you about my coaching. And in order to do that, I want to tell you what medical coaching is. So medical coaching is a process. It's a coaching process to help clients develop emotional and mental resilience so that they can cope to the best of their ability with whatever medical condition or medical crisis they've been diagnosed with. And we also work with caregivers. I want to share a few stories of my clients. I've changed the details to protect their privacy, but I think this will give you a bit of an indication about the field of medical coaching. I want to tell you about a client that I had, a young executive, showing symptoms of stress. He was referred to me by a friend. He was suffering from pressure in his chest. He was being dizzy. He was having anxiety attacks, and he was fainting. He had been to see several doctors. Everything was wrong. The tests came out brilliant. He was healthy. There was nothing pathologically wrong with him, but he was not functioning. He came for coaching, and I used this model to identify where exactly he was stuck, how the emotional and mental stuckness, the conflict that he had in his life, was presenting itself through the body, creating enormous amount of stress. We coached for 4 months. Within 4 months, there was a dramatic change in the symptoms. They had all disappeared. His doctor was amazed, and he later referred more clients to me. I also worked with a young client that was diagnosed with a severe heart condition. I was called by the hospital to coach her. She needed to go through a catheterization, and she was suffering from such anxiety that they couldn't use full anesthesia with her. So with this client, basically, we coached for an hour and a half. We created a vision. We set some goals. We addressed the emotions. We addressed the fears. And we brought the level of intensity down. By the end of this hour and a half, which was a double session, she was ready to do the catheterization. She was still afraid, but she was ready. Ready enough for them not to have to use general anesthesia with her, only local, which was a much safer option for her. 3 weeks after the catheterization, she came back, and we coached for close to a year. We addressed many issues in her life. The issue of loss, the loss of her old self. She wanted a job. She wanted to start dating. She was in her early 20s. She had a full life ahead of her. She had so many dreams and so many goals. And we translated all of that into a coaching plan. I work with another client that was told she would never have a child. She decided to fight. She was diagnosed with endometriosis and had to go through IVF. I coached this client for 6 months. She came to me saying, "This process is draining me. It's taking the life out of me, and I'm here to create life." I coached her throughout the IVF process for several months, addressing everything from limiting belief to a vision about motherhood, to various relationships in her life, to the relationship with her own body, and feeling so betrayed that she could not get pregnant. She conceived a child after 8 months, and she has a beautiful, beautiful young girl. The stories are endless. I can spend an hour telling you so many stories, and this is just a small example. So if you're still curious and you're still interested to hear more about medical coaching and how medical coaching is different from health coaching and how medical coaching can create your coaching experience richer, then I suggest that you continue listening, because Eugenia is going to take on from here and share her experience with you in the field of oncology, working with cancer patients. So I thank you. I thank you for your curiosity. I thank you for listening. If you want to contact me personally and speak with me, hear more about my experience, hear more about medical coaching from me, Eugenia will tell you how to contact me. In the meantime, enjoy Eugenia and ask her what you're really curious about. Thank you, and enjoy this amazing conference. Shalom.